What's going on, everyone? Today on Puddin's Fab Shop, we're going to continue rust repair on our shoebox project here. If you guys are just now tuning in, this should be part 4 to this, so I'd recommend you go back and start at the beginning, work your way up to here. In our last video, we welded in the rocker, we welded in the inner rocker to it, and we mocked up an additional inner rocker that we're going to use to build the inner structure to our rear quarter on the inside here. Today we're going to work on getting that thing actually welded in place, work on building the rear body mount, and we may knock out anything else we can get done depending on how much time we have, like maybe welding up the rest of that door post and smoothing it out. So we'll see what we can get done today. Let's get started. So the first thing we need to do today is, this little panel down here only has one cleco in it. I measured last time, so I knew where to cut that out to, but I want to take a couple more measurements between each sides, make sure that's going where it needs to go, where it's matching how I did the driver's side, and I'd like to get that thing tacked in place. That way it's not just sitting there bouncing around. So to do that, we'll have to drill our holes for our spot welds as well in the piece. So once I get verified that it is where it needs to be, then we'll go ahead and prep this thing where it can be actually welded in. We'll have to build this little bracket down here. We'll get it in and we'll get everything set that way that thing's good and we can start concentrating on the mount. That's looking better. Last time I just rough cut that because I wasn't actually fitting this piece. I just kind of wanted to get mocked up there in place. So with that pushed over now, that has us matching that side as far as the distances being the same, which is good. And we have more of a lip down here now. It's actually running pretty close to the lip that I added. The front's still off a little bit. It would have needed filled, but I'm gonna push this over, mark this lip, cut it where it ends up being flush, and then we'll go ahead and drill all of our spot hole or holes for our spot welds. And our piece here, we'll clean up the middle back there. We'll get this thing actually up and weld it in place, and move on to that little bracket. Alright, so this is what I have for a template for making our mount. I made this one night, or one day when I got done working right before I went in, so I could have something to think about on how to build the mount. I whipped this up real quick, and it ended up being the shape I needed. It just wasn't quite wide enough. So I made one for that side that's a little bit wider, that way I could trim it down. So when I grab this and I go to this side, of course, this side's flip-flopped, so it's not going to match up there on the floor because it'd need to be reversed. But the overall distance is matching up, and it looks like if it was flip-flop that it would work. There's a little booger right there from whenever I tacked that came up that I need to grind that down, so this can go back flush. And then you can see the gap back here where my finger is. That is not supposed to be like that. I'm sure that happened whenever this side was damaged or whatever. So we'll take and straighten that back out. That way this thing can fit back there. And then I'll make a paper template and we'll start figuring out how to make this side match that side. I don't quite remember which side I had to add more material to. So I'll get to looking at the driver's side over here and figure it out. So I whipped us up a template real quick. I almost forgot to reverse the line there, but I didn't. That actually worked because then I could just make measurements and flip it and make sure it's running at the exact same angle that other one was. So that kind of actually worked out. I'm gonna come over here to this mount. I told y'all that it was I needed to add 1 inch of material to one side and I wasn't sure which. I'm gonna show you how I figured that out. So over here, this mount, this is a butt weld here. So this is the piece we're actually building up here. This piece right here is not part of it. Looking over here, I seen this edge came up and this is where the material tapers down to. So I knew this was our front and that we needed to taper up from there. I was short on material like I said. So I knew the taper needed to start up here, and going towards the back, I needed to add the 1 inch of material. All right, now on this side, if we'll bring this thing up here, fit it up, it's looking pretty good. If you'll look at where that line tapers down to and meets up to that wheelhouse, it's right where that wheelhouse is wanting to start curving up, which is good. You can see how if we break that, it's gonna angle it up towards our floor right here. So I'm happy with that. That fit up in a good place. It's matching this side, which is good. So I'm gonna break that or on the paper anyways. Check it out, and if it's good, we're gonna start making it out of metal. So where we broke that looks good. When I made this, I added the inch of material, actually a little more, because I didn't remember how I did this side exactly, but I'm thinking I must have trimmed it whenever I added this piece here, because this one up where the brake goes out to the leading edge is only 3 inches wide. That's all right. What we're gonna do now is I'm gonna mark this one to be 3 inches wide across there, and we'll trim it down. So I remember what the extra material was for now. I just had to make the same mistake twice. So when you get in there, this butts up really nice to the wheelhouse, right? But the problem is when you break this at an angle, it's already moving your material forward, and then that wheelhouse is starting to curve towards the rear. So between both of them, you create a nice gap there. That's what I did last time. I remember now. No big deal. This template's still good. We're just gonna tape us on a little area poster board, trim off what we're not gonna need, and we'll finally make it out of metal. So this fits pretty good. I did have to bend that back a little bit. I did overextend it a hair. There's a little lip back here on this wheelhouse that's keeping us from being able to butt back all the way. I'm gonna go ahead and mark to be able to trim that out, and then mark where I want to put my spot welds at, and we'll get those done. And I'll probably glico it in place for now. So I made a template real quick. This piece will let us transition from the mount down to the floor. I'll get it cut out. We'll get over there in the brake and bend it up, and we'll probably go ahead and Clinko this in, get it fit up, and then we'll full weld it, smooth it out, and at that point we'll be ready to weld the mount in. Got that all welded up, ground it down as much as I want. He's gonna end up putting rhino liner on the bottom of this car, or bed liner I mean. So a lot of this stuff will hide. I don't have to full metal finish it. There's a little piece down in this corner we'll have to build. That'll be for another day. So everything right here is nice and strong with all these different bends and breaks. Should be perfect. So the next thing I got to do is we have to drill a hole for the body mount. I have a measurement right here and one coming off the gas tank that I took whenever I first took this car apart. So I'm gonna get it measured and drill it out. It's out to a 5/8 hole. So we'll get it drilled. After it's drilled, we can go to the top, build a little gusset for up there, and then I think we'll be done for the day. So this is the template for the last little floor brace we need. I'll go ahead and cut this one out and drill a hole. I went ahead and marked the hole already. So we'll get this on the car and that'll be it. Well, that's it for today. Got that mount built. I know that don't really apply to a lot of y'all. You're not going to be having to rebuild that rear mount, and if you do, it's not going to be how I built it anyways. But maybe that'll help you get an idea of how you can use flat sheet metal and a brake to work some angles to fit up to a curved surface, because that corner piece has a lot of different curves coming into it, and using a brake and angles, we're able to build a piece that can still fit in there. So hopefully y'all enjoyed it. If you did and you want to help me out, support me, be sure to drop a comment, subscribe, like the video, share it if you want. If you're on Instagram, you can hop over there. I try to stay posted on there quite a bit at Puddin's Fab Shop. And be sure to come back as we keep moving forward on this thing. We have a couple things that we need to do, like welding up the door post and finishing that little patch back here. But here shortly we'll be getting the chassis back from Chris. When we get it, we'll be setting this body down on there so we can build the floors. So be sure to subscribe and come back so you can see all that. We'll also be C-notching the frame, so that should be a good video. So I appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time.